everybody out there in comic book land, and welcome to episode 3 of Major Previews, brought to you by Comic Book Click, where we go and we look at the future issues in the solicitations and try to pick the best, the brightest, the latest and greatest things to come to comic books. I am joined always by
Alex Garcia, aka B Roke, but here for the March previews.
Yes, I got caught a bit off guard. I forgot how short February is.
Even with the extra day, even with the
extra day, but we are diligently still sticking to our duty and looking through all that is to come out each and every month and picking our five picks of what you guys should be looking out for, what issues, what stories, trade paperbacks, etc. you guys should be looking out for. I'm excited. I've got a bunch of cool stuff on my list. It was hard this month to choose.
This was a tough month. This was a stacked month.
Yeah. Some publishers more than others, but I think that there's a lot of books getting some tremendous traction right now across the board. There's a lot to be excited about when it comes to, reading these stories. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and I'll go ahead and let you start. Hey,
for me, this month, this is a book that honestly came out of nowhere. I didn't see this coming out, even when they previewed it. They announced it just a few months ago. But now that it's officially coming out, and it's coming out this week, so get on it. Get it, because I guarantee it's going to sell out. But Spectacular Spider-Men #1 by Greg Weisman and Humberto Ramos. Both of those names are fantastic. Greg Weisman, that's the legendary creator behind Gargoyles. He's also still writing all the Gargoyle comics. I've talked about them in the past. They are great comics. And the fact that they're now letting him write some Spider-Man, not just Peter Parker, but Miles on one book, where it's going to be going for a while, with Humberto Ramos, who is a fantastic artist who's done tremendous work in the past on Spider-Man. So to see him doing Miles and Peter on one book written by Greg Weisman, there really isn't much spoilers on this right now, and I'm liking that. I don't want to know too much. I'm not the spoiler guy. I like to pick it up, open it up, and just dive into it. So just seeing some of the pages and knowing who's behind it, I know it's going to be a solid book. So here we go. And this looks like it's going to be a happy Spider-Man book, not like the Amazing Spider-Man. I am overall still digging Amazing Spider-Man, but it's depressing what they're putting Peter through. So to see him tag teaming with Miles, and hopefully we get a happy book, I'm with it. Let's go.
Yeah, you got to think that they've been seeing a lot of success. Initially, when Miles was created, his Peter Parker had died, so he goes through a lot of that becoming Spider-Man stuff on his own, figuring it all out, how to become a hero, etc. and so forth. Eventually, he comes over to 616 and gets to hang out with our Peter. But we've been seeing that relationship kind of flesh out in stuff like Spider-Verse, right? And now, most recently, the Marvel Spider-Man video game, where we get to see it's so cool because you do these missions as them, and they call each other Spider-Man because both of them are Spider-Man.
They are both Spider-Man, absolutely.
And they have that cool level of respect that I really, really dig. And yeah, you got to think this is not going to be a heartbreaker. You got to think that this, I won't call it fluff, but you got to believe that there's going to be some heart. There's going to be some lessons learned. But I really have always liked the dynamic of Peter and Miles being around each other. So yeah, it was on my list as well. But this is something that you have been talking about for so long that I was like, I let him have it.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, definitely. There's definitely going to be fun. Greg knows how to write a mentors and protege relationship very well. He's mastered that with Goliath and the younger Gargoyles. So I can only imagine the banter that Peter and Miles are going to have going back and forth. And in the comics, because I feel like in Enter the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, and even in the Spider-Man video games, I feel like at least it feels, especially with how he looks and the way they interact and the way they look, but sometimes I feel like they're much closer in age than they actually are. But in this, Ramos is going out of his way to be like, nah, man, this is a 16-year-old kid next to a man. So
Right.
I'm looking forward to seeing that size difference, because even in Amazing Spider-Man, they've been doing that a lot, even with the addition of Spider-Boy. Like there are a lot of
Right.
panels where like Peter is looking like he's 6 foot tall, Miles is about 5'6", looking like a teenage kid, and then Spider-Boy is just looking like a 10-year-old in the back, like, why can't you guys just let me hang out? I can handle
Right.
myself. And it's just like, there's a reason we call you Spider-Boy and we're the two Spider-Men. Okay.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, 100%. It's cool to see that you can't have that comparison without perspective, right? So it's like you were saying, like, if you really want to impart on how really new Miles is to this whole game, when you consider comic book like years, like considering Peter
Right.
being in the 60s and Miles in like the 20 or the 2000s, yeah, there is a big age gap. There is a big learning curve. So it'll be cool to see how Peter deals with having to kind of look over some, because that's also not easy to crime fight and have to look over somebody
Yeah.
else's back. You're already trying to watch your
Yeah.
back.
I keep having to tell myself that Miles is still in high school. Like that's
Yeah,
something that's still like, whoa, that's right. This kid is like 16, maybe now, 15, 16 years old. Like, whoa, whoa, this is not a kid in college. This is a kid in high school. This is a kid.
right,
So
right.
it's gonna be a fun dynamic in the pages of this book, and the artwork looks phenomenal. Ramos is gonna kill it.
It's awesome
So what do
stuff.
you so what do you got for your number one, sir?
Let's keep the train rolling. What's up, Danger? You were just talking about Miles and Peter. I was just talking about Spider Verse. You can't get to Across the Spider Verse without our boy Miguel O'Hara, and he is getting a new series, a 5-issue series, Symbiote Spider-Man 2099. This is actually going to be written by the illustrious Peter David. He's returning to
Nice.
all this. The artist is, I want to say, is Roger Antonio. I hope I'm saying that
Okay.
right. The first name
I'm not
is
familiar with them.
Roge. So it says there will be a new symbiote on the loose. Comic legend Peter David, who's been known for things like The Incredible Hulk and Spider-Man 2099, triumphantly returns to pen the next epic chapter in the symbiote saga alongside artist Rose Antonio, who did art for Carnage. This time, set your time circuits ahead to the techno dystopian future of 2099. Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider Man 2099, is facing a hostile takeover of his own body. Crone Stone, the Venom of 2099, wages an all out assault on Alchemax, and the only hope of stopping him lies with the power awakened by a top secret project gone terribly wrong. What must Miguel sacrifice to seal the bond with his new symbiote? His body, his mind, his very soul? Boom, boom, boom. This is one of those things, man. Like symbiotes are hit or miss, in my opinion. But I now got a refreshed and renewed interest in Miguel O'Hara, as he's been brought to more of the public consciousness with things like Across the Spider Verse, and now with Peter David coming back. I mean, that just seems like the prodigal son kind of situation here, and you do that with the symbiote. Like, it's already crazy what the symbiote's able to do with Peter and his, I get, for lack of a better term, organics, right? But Miguel with all his tech, I really wonder how, the symbiote and alien himself are is going to deal with that, and if his dark side is darker than most, because his light side is darker than most. So
I
I
was gonna
gotta
say he's kind
believe,
of already on a dark side, so it's just
yeah,
we're going
this
from
is full
Colombian coffee
angst.
to Cuban coffee, you know?
Yeah, this is full angst because 2099, man, that you just he literally looks sharp. Like he looks like
Yes.
he's all
Yes.
edge.
He is.
And you add that plus the symbiote, like this is like the most metal thing. It's either gonna be amazing or at least it'll be something worth talking about.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have 2099 always come back. Classic costume design, and to have him come back with his creator, because Peter David was the person who originally wrote Spider-Man 2099. And I like that
Yep.
every time Marvel does bring back Spider-Man 2099, I think most times Peter David does come back for it. So he is the voice of Miguel O'Hara. He's done a great job on the character pretty much the entire time he's written him. So this is something to look forward to, especially for those of you who are just happy to see a Spider-Man 29.99 book on the shelf, or for you guys who are just learning about him from across the Spider-Verse and you want to learn a little bit more and see exactly why he is so hard-edged and get some spoilers, I guess, also, because there was
Yeah.
a lot of things in Across the Spider-Verse that were hinted at about him that uh general comic fans aren't aware of with this character. So you'll probably get to know a bit more about him, but if you catch up on the series. So
Yeah.
get on it. Get on it. I'm with it. I'll check it out.
Awesome stuff.
So for me, for my number 2 pick, I gotta go. We're going back into this newly built or rebuilt universe. We're going back to the Ultimate Universe. Ultimate X-Men #1 by Peach Momoko. Now, in general, Peach Momoko has been hit or miss with me. Some of the stuff that she's done, I'm like, okay, I it's not for me, so leave it over there. Some of the stuff has looked amazing. But what I'm excited about with her doing this book, is it's them doing the X-Men in Japan in this newly rebuilt Ultimate world. So it's
Interesting.
now there is no, at least not yet. There is no Westchester. There is no X-Men in New York. These are Japanese mutants in Japan, written by a Japanese person, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And this suits her style. Like when she did the X-Men, I believe it was called Demon Days books,
Hmm.
she was really able to dive into her style, and you can tell when she really likes drawing something, it just looks so different than the stuff that's like, hey, can you do this?
Yeah.
The panels I've seen so far of this Ultimate X-Men book, I'm super excited for it. On top of the fact that the Ultimate Universe has already been a must read the last few months, as is Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, and now this book, and we're getting an Ultimates book by Dennis Camp
Yep.
soon. And again, just like I said with Brian Hill, knowing that he wants to keep that energy going following Ultimate Spider-Man, which has been continuously be stellar. Peach Momoko, she's sitting there going, I guarantee you, like, okay, you guys are bringing the thunder, I'm bringing the thunder, and we're gonna this universe is just gonna keep unraveling, and what's to come with these mutants, and from this whole new, not just world perspective, but just the cultural perspective.
Yeah.
This is going to be another one of those books that, guys, I believe this also comes out this week. The Ultimate books have been selling off the shelf, so get to your comic book store ASAP to get this book.
Yeah, what a cool premise. And I think the coolest part of the premise is very similar to what actually happened to restart this Ultimate Universe. It's not huge sweeping changes to the lore. It's literally like a butterfly effect of just
Mm-hmm.
one small change. And that one small change just has ripple effects throughout the entire story, and it allows you to tell different stories. What an odd idea of just thinking of what if the first mutant team to be created wasn't created in America? How does that change things? How does that,
Mm-hmm.
change how the team is built? What the government, or because X-Men have always had issues with people trying to build robots and stuff to try to take them out. Like
Yeah, right.
Japan's real big on that, big on robotics and stuff. So, we're gonna have Gundams trying to take out the Ultimate X-Men. Like
Right. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
possibilities are endless, and
Yeah.
it's already cool, like you said, to have this brand new universe and all these possibilities. But you pair that with great art and unique art that you can see and be like and identify
Right.
as Peach Momoko. The X-Men need to be distinct. They need to
Yes.
look distinct and feel
Yep.
distinct. They shouldn't feel like another book on the shelves. And I think this serves that purpose very well. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah. And we're getting it all from the perspective of a character that people have always liked over the years, from
Hmm.
the perspective of Armor, who first came around back in Astonishing X-Men, and she's always been kind of in the background, comes to the forefront occasionally. But the
Hmm.
fact that we're now getting this new Armor in this new Ultimate Universe, like you said, this butterfly effect, where now it's going to be in Japan with with a whole bunch of new characters. Like we're getting this new character named, oh, what's the name of this new character that she based? It was right here. Forgive me, guys. I forgive me,
You're
guys.
good.
But it was
You're
right
good.
here. But I mean, the character looks very, very cool. She looks like she's gonna be some kind of Storm variant, so to speak. But
Okay.
we already have Storm in the Ultimate Universe, but this is another Storm-esque character.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to this book, guys, and I'm telling you, the Ultimate Universe has been hot. Pick it up. Pick it up. So what do you
Yeah,
got
and
for us, Don?
well, that's the thing. You got things like the Ultimate Universe that are changing tried and true stories that we know, changing the recipe up a little bit, doing a fusion, if you will. But sometimes you just want to go back to the old recipe. Sometimes you just want something that you remember, something that feels familiar. And that's my next pick is X-Men 97 issue 1, written by Steve Fox with art by Salva Espin. The official prelude to the highly anticipated Disney Plus show. The X-Men are back, and the 90s have never looked better. In this official prelude to the upcoming X-Men 97, created in collaboration with the showrunners, discover what Storm, Jubilee, Wolverine, and the rest of the beloved 90s X-Men cast have been up to in the time before their return. Startling revelations here lead directly into the hotly anticipated new series. Don't miss out. So, without saying anything too damaging, I was aware because of toys that they're doing some pretty interesting things this season, or with this
Really?
X-Men 97.
No
That
spoilers.
I've
No
not,
spoilers.
I've not said a word.
I feel
So
like I already know too much as it is. The fact that we're getting a sunspot and
yeah,
a different take on, not different take, but just bringing Morph back and adding to his
yeah.
character. That to me, I'm like, okay, I've got enough. I'll wait for that first episode. You know?
I think when it comes to stuff like this, when done well, knowing what I know, I would be reading these books to see the breadcrumbs. You understand? Because a good
Right.
story
Right.
would be placing them here, thus to lead to the series. And I think there's so many interesting directions that they could take this, even though these are characters that we know, and stories for the most part that we know. Like they don't necessarily whole cloth have to make up anything. There's been decades, at least two, of X-Men comics
Yeah.
since this has come out. So, and we've already seen their propensity and great ability to adapt X-Men stories better than the films have in many
Yeah.
cases.
Oh, definitely. And in some cases, the X-Men animated universe inspired certain comic book stories.
Yeah.
So
So I expect like this first issue to start off pretty, status quo, get everybody back on terms with how everything's gone, connect dots between, because I don't expect there to be a huge time jump between the last episode of the X-Men animated series and the first episode of X-Men 97, where this would fit, you know?
yeah, I mean, I
Um,
hope not. I hope not.
yeah. And I don't see them saying, if you want to know what happened, read I don't see, I don't see that
No.
being the case. So this, this book will serve to be the sprinkles on the ice cream cone, as opposed to, as opposed to absolutely meaningless. I do think it's going to enrich what we're going to see, but you can still eat the ice cream cone without the sprinkles, if you will.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And for those of you who are excited about it and you just love the original series, I'm telling you, you're gonna want to get on this. This does look interesting. It's just the hype train is behind this series right now. And I mean the
Yeah.
trailer. I mean, we had what Gambit on Wolverine's back charging his claws.
Yep. Yep.
As insane as that sounds, as some people might say, I have heard, you hear the qualms, but it's comic books, ride it. Because I mean, who
Yeah.
enjoy it? I mean, it's nuts. It's
It, it,
insane. So
it's
I
weird
can't
that
wait for it.
people see stuff like that, and that's when they want real physics, or that's when they want real science. It's like, oh, so the guy with the actual magical metal that we've made up
Yeah, right.
here, like now, yeah, it's interesting when people want to start those fights. Similarly, with all the discourse going on right now with the X-Men in general, what they should be and what they should represent, all that and more. There will be conversations had after this. There's going to be people with their arms already crossed before they watch the first episode of this X-Men 97.
Oh
So
yeah, it's but hey, like PT Barnum said, right? There's no such thing as bad publicity. So I
Yeah.
think whether you're wanting to be angry at this series or you're genuinely excited for it, all those people are going to check it out.
Yeah.
So
100%. And
everybody's going to be there.
I think it'd be a cool little collector's thing. In the future, well, you can tell your kids that you had a show, it came back, and they even did a comic about it. You know what I'm saying? It was so popular. It wasn't like a homage. It wasn't like a documentary. They just redid the show. Like they
Yeah.
just brought it back. Like
Hmm.
that's huge. And that artwork is synonymous with the Jim Lee stuff, giant size X-Men and all that kind of stuff. When that X-Men rebranding in the early 90s
Yes.
led to the character designs in 97. So now
Yep.
when this comes back here, it's just homage to all that stuff there. It's just a big bubble of love. It's a big bubble of
I
what you
love it.
remember,
They
and
have folded time and space
yes,
to
yes,
bring us back
right back.
to
Yeah,
this period of our childhood, but at the same time, it seems like they're wanting to elevate it. So I am for that.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What is it, March 20th for the show? And I believe these comics come out, I think, in like a week or two.
So this is coming out on March 27th.
Perfect.
Um,
I think that's a
I
week after then the first episode of the show. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and
perfect,
I wonder
perfect timing.
if it's going to try to, in time with the show, not necessarily drop everything on the ground, all the
Heck,
breadcrumbs, if you will.
hey,
It'd be interesting
I'm
to
I'm
see.
just hoping the show comes out, people are excited and go, "Oh, I want to better understand why this is the way it is now. How could I possibly do that?" Go down to your local comic shop, pick up X-Men 97 #1. Let's go.
Yes,
I'm with it.
yes,
So
100%.
awesome. But now, we got all these new worlds coming back or being nostalgic for, whether it's this 97 world, or the Ultimate Universe. But in the meantime, we are ending a time period known as the Krakoan Age of the X-Men.
Oh
And with
boy.
that, we are ending X-Force. X-Force number 50 is my next pick.
Wow.
Benjamin Percy has done a fantastic job on this book from issue number. He's been on this book from issue number 1 and now till 50. And this book is going to end in a way that when I was first starting to read this book, I wouldn't have thought this is how it's going to end. Spoilers, 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 even though it's not really because this has been going on for a while. But Beast has become the villain of this book to the point where now the entire team is hunting down the Beast.
Right.
And if you're seeing what's going on in the book, in the Wolverine book, that I believe Benjamin Percy is also writing, and we have the Sabretooth War going on, which there has been crazy stuff going on in that book. Excellent pick, by the way, Don.
Thank
That
you,
was
thank
one of
you.
your picks a couple months ago with the Sabretooth War. I had dropped off on Wolverine, but the stuff that's going on in that book right now is crazy. And so now seeing him finish up his X-Force run with what's bound to be a bloodbath of a final battle between the team and Beast, and Beast is, I guarantee you, we're going to see crazy legions of Beasts and Wolverine and God
Yeesh.
knows what other mutants that he's going to be pulling out. And it's going to be grotesque. It's going to be vicious. It's going to be bloody. So this last issue, if you weren't on the X-Force wagon, or if you maybe fell off for a second, come back. This is the last issue, and I guarantee you it's going to be explosive. So check it out.
Yeah, when you said Benjamin Percy, my mind immediately went to Wolverine. Um, so that's what I was gonna ask you. But yeah, I believe he's written some issues for that stuff. The Krakoan Age is something that was a marvel to watch unfold when it first came out. Like, just I was hanging on the edge of my seat. I kind of took my hands off the steering wheel for a bit and kind of let it go and become what it has. But I've heard about the twists and turns. I've heard about the excellent run on smaller books. Um, it's a lot for a writer to be able to get 50 issues on
Yeah,
anything. It just is a testament to their ability to continue to tell the story, to continue to dribble the ball, to continue to move the plot along and keep people interested. Um, are you sad? Are you anticipating any drop off in quality when because that's my fear always at the end of these runs, right? You get into a super good Daredevil run and it's like, oh, it's the last issue, and you're like, damn, what's gonna happen in issue 1
yeah,
when it all
yeah.
comes back around, kind of stuff.
My only thing with the end of the Krakoan age that I just don't want to see it get swept away. Don't do what they did to the Grant Morrison New X-Men run where they swept it under the rug and they just went back to status quo. If you want to bring back the status quo, but also still have the Krakoan age kind of going on simultaneously, like if they do what they did with Schism, which I loved, Wolverine kept the school going, and Scott took his team where they went. I
Mhm.
believe that was when they were in San Francisco.
Right.
I was liking that because you still had that old school flavor and you had this new school flavor. So I don't see why they can't keep this Krakoan stuff going, especially the Araco stuff. Like, do not please, Marvel, don't undo Araco. I love that. That was one of my favorite issues of the past couple of years when they terraformed Mars in like a span of of like 12 panels. I was like, wow, like that's amazing. So don't
Right.
get rid of Araco. I love that world. I love that they brought over these mutants and there's so much storytelling you can still tell from that. But if you need to go back to some kind of that school aspect, bring that back. You know, just don't completely sweep this under the rug. It's too rich. It's too interesting for them to just get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always feel like a good writer does find the best ways to pay respects to runs in the past while also kind of moving this stuff towards the future. And it can be super hard to move certain characters towards the future because they are on perpetual hamster wheels. They're meant to be on
Right.
perpetual hamster wheels to maintain the status quo. And one of those characters is a character by the name of Batman. And I'm a huge Batman fan, but I
Cool.
kind of get it. Uh, he's this dude
He's not
solely
on my
created.
shirt. I've never heard of him.
He was solely created by Bill Finger. If you ask, I mean by Bob Kane. If you ask Bob Kane, he'll tell you that he made them all by himself, and he's always looked that way. But they're doing a new series written
Mhm.
by Mark Russell with art by Mike. Is it Allred?
Alred. Alred.
Allred. Called Batman Dark Ages. So it's almost like how they did Life Story, where you are dealing with Spider-Man and the actual flow of time. They are situating Batman in actual historic events. So if he's in the 30s or
Nice.
whatever, he's gonna go through those wars and have to deal with what Gotham is from those effects. This is a spiritual sequel to a Superman book, Superman Space Age, where they positioned Superman's arrival to Earth and then subsequent turning into a hero around the space race and the Cold War, which he's
Right.
kind of allegories for that stuff anyway. So it kind of all
Yeah. Right.
comes
Basically.
back around. Yeah. So I'm interested in seeing where they position this Batman, like at what age or time frame, because they could do a bunch of really, really interesting things with it, I think.
No, definitely. Mike Allred is one of my favorite creators. He did that X-Force X Statics run back in the day. He's also behind the mind behind Madman. Check that
Hmm.
stuff out if you can go back on it. It's wild, just indie comic madness. So the fact that they're giving him his own little DC sandbox between that Superman book he did a while ago and now this Batman book, it caught my eye. It's definitely something that's on my radar. I'll see what it's like when that first issue. His art style and just the way he perceives things is so wild that
Yeah, it
for
is.
him to it's for him to tackle this to Batman from this perspective, I know it's gonna be just it's gonna be interesting at the very least. It's
Yeah,
creating this new DC its own little DC Ultimate Universe, so to speak, between
yeah,
Batman, Superman, and let's see what else he comes. Let's see what else comes with it. So I'm for it. I love his art style, the way he's drawing Batman. Because I did see some of the panels on this. His
yeah,
Batman looks nuts. It kind of
yeah.
looks
It
like the
does.
way I would imagine villains perceive Batman when they see this guy coming down on them with a
Right.
cape and cowl in the middle of the night. So he looks bugged out, and I dig that.
What's also interesting is I do believe that the time in which these characters were created, I lends to so many of their characteristics. Like it lends to why they are the kind of characters that they are. Like a lot of these, especially the older pulpy ones, right? Like a lot of them were
Yeah.
supposed to be about patriotism, about nationalism, about detectives were huge, and that's why Like Noir was big, and thus Batman, like he's the world's greatest
Right.
detective. Like, so if you put him in the same time frame as when he was created, he almost becomes almost like a Dick Tracy with a a cape and cowl.
Cable Cow, yeah.
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 So
No,
so so I really want to see what they end up doing with that there though. But yeah, that's
definitely.
my number three there.
All right, guys. So we're gonna get away from this mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
We're gonna get edgy, we're gonna get dark, we're gonna get crazy, but at the same time, we're gonna get nostalgic because
Yes.
we're gonna again talking about rebuilding worlds and these crazy new ideas that are coming out, but at the same time feeling familiar. My pick
Hmm.
is Void Rivals number 7. The Energon universe keeps coming out, guys. Void Rivals is written by Robert Kirkman. Yes, the Robert Kirkman, the guy behind Walking Dead, and drawn by Lorenzo De Felice, who he did a great long-term series called Oblivion Song. They're now Void Rivals is the centerpiece of the Energon universe. From the very first issue, where we learned that there are these two warring factions in space that it turns out that they are possibly the same exact race that must have split off at some point and then gone into this thousands of years of civil war that they don't even realize is a civil war, while in the background they've used weird Transformers characters to constantly show up in every issue to show that this is all part of this new Energon universe where we have Transformers, we have GI Joe, and we have these this war going on in space between these two brand new races created by Robert Kirkman, and it's been fantastic, guys. It's got depth. It's got this level of imagination that we know Kirkman can produce. He created this whole Walking Dead universe, and now he's creating this whole other universe while also giving us these nuggets of nostalgia. By hey, you want to see some Jetfire? You want to see some Quintessons? We got that going. And if you need more of it, check out Transformers, check out GI Joe because this is all gonna come back together. But the Void Rivals book itself is great. I mean, if you're a fan of those old school sci-fi shows like Battlestar Galactica or even Star Trek or even in some cases Star Wars, you got to check out this book. And this is a great jumping on point because the first arc is done. First 6 issues, that was the first arc. So this is the first issue in the second arc where we keep now just un peeling through these layers of this new universe. And now the two main characters are on the run, and the father of one of the main characters, who's also the ruler of that side of the war, is now about to send forth their ultimate what it seems like
Weapon.
bounty hunter weapon or bounty hunter
Yeah.
after them, so they can quelch whatever it is that's going on. Because, like I said, these two warring factions had never seen each other, but
Oh
then
wow.
what happens is
There can
two
only be one.
well no, so two of them crash land on a moon, and they both realize, look, the only way we're going to survive this is if we help each other. And
Oh
in
wow.
helping each other, we'll get off this moon. You'll go your way, you'll go my way, and thank you, because it's going to suck to just have us both die here. But in one moment, they both take off their helmets and they look at each other and they're like, "Wait a minute, you look like me, I look like you. What the heck is going on here?" And Daddy back home, now that everything is now they have come back home,
Yeah.
the pops is like, look, we can't have this getting out. We can't have these two races knowing that they must be tied to
They're
each other.
basically the same. And what
This,
a meta sort of
oh yeah, yeah.
thing there, right?
Kind of makes you think of something, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
And that's why like the best science fiction has always been a thin metaphor for social issues.
Yeah,
Always, 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 always. Star Wars, it's getting political. Like sci-fi's always tried to tell you the faults in our humanity, but just how technology would just exacerbate any of that kind of stuff.
yeah,
And
big
yeah,
time.
it just shows you even in another world, in another universe, it still gets to the point of us versus them. That's how people maintain control,
That's right.
and that narrative, and
Keep
they're
keep
they're
that keep that
lesser,
money
they're
flowing. Keep that money and control going.
and anger and division. and
Yep.
and all that kind of stuff. And that with the backdrop of characters that you know and recognize who are quite literally fighting wars, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be super cool. And also, there's something to be said about um that very particular part that in a run where like you're just talking about, where the first arc is done and the second arc is starting. It always makes me feel like you are running for a train that's going right, like
Right.
this train, this you want to get on it because at some point you've read now the first 6 issues and the seventh one is coming out. If you can get through that, you could run that fast, you could jump on that train where everyone else has already been on and then ride it to as far as you want to. It's a really exciting part in getting into a run.
Yeah.
Is realizing that you just inhaled the first trade paperback, and now the next issue, the next arc, the next story is gonna come, and usually that's around the same part where you start telling other people, yeah, this is what you need to get on.
Yeah. And speaking of it being like a train, for those of you who aren't Kirkman fans, he has that been known to be the talking head guy where it's just word bubble after word bubble.
Invincible.
Void Rivals is right, Invincible, Walking Dead, which
Yeah.
I personally I never felt that way on Walking Dead. I get more of that feel in Invincible, but in
Yeah.
Void Rivals, this is action driven. This is very you will, if you pick up the first trade, I guarantee you'll breeze through it in half an hour because there's just so much action going on. It's
I,
a whole lot of show don't tell because it's just so quick what's going on.
I was gonna even say, I wonder if that shows like a veteran status of with Kirkman as a writer, where he can kind of keep his hands off a little bit and let some of the art speak for it. Like
Yeah.
we're watching him as a creator constantly retweak the stuff that he's done before, or have alternate opinions about things, that creative decisions that he's made. I do think he's maturing as a creator in general, and I do think, like you said, it could be a whole page of explaining a fight scene, but if you can just sit back and have the trust, you could. Some of my favorite panels have either no words on it or like a
Yep.
single word on it.
Yep.
you know
Yeah,
um
and I think
like,
that is also a testament of the trust that he has in this artist. He's worked with this artist quite a bit in the past.
yeah.
Oblivion Song, I would highly recommend because that's a science fiction action driven series as well. And they're teaming up here where, like you said, he can trust this guy. Like, oh wait, I don't need to put so much description in this because I know this guy's art is going to tell the story, and it does. It's fantastic. So, like just like George was saying, get on the train before it's past, and then you're sitting there
Yeah.
going, "Well, I'll wait for the omnibus." No, get on it now because you've seen us sharing it even on CBC. We're sharing panels on Transformers. We're sharing panels on GI Joe, Cobra Commander, and Void Rivals. This stuff you want to get on this universe. This Energon universe. Month to month, it is where you want to be. Between this and the Ultimate Universe, it's like, whoo, it's like who's hotter right now.
Yeah, and it's literally cool to watch them build the road as they walk up it. Right? They
Oh
they
yeah,
literally have to
yeah.
put the bricks in front of them as they continue to walk, and that's what you do with these brand new series. I have a brand new series coming out on my list for number 4. The complete shot in the dark, absolute shot in the dark, but I'm taking a chance on Dudley Datson and the Forever Machine. Sounds a bit bonkers, right?
Who's
So
publishing this?
Dark Horse Comics is publishing this, and the synopsis goes: Have you ever wondered why all the great figures in history had a pet companion, and if they were all running from the same mysterious threat? Such questions have never crossed the mind of Dudley Datson, a 15-year-old with a penchant for invention. But when dastardly foes turn his world upside down, Dudley is going to have to start facing things beyond his wildest imaginations in this modern day fable. But the reason why I ended up picking this is being written by Scott Snyder. And he was the first
Oh,
writer that I read a complete run of in my comic book fandom, and my novice days. That name's always gonna bring me back to, like, okay, I know you. I can I see you.
of
So
course, of course.
this seems like a more fun book. I've not really seen him dabble in lighter stuff again. Think of how crazy Metal was. Even his Justice League went to some dark places with Luther and Martian Manhunter and stuff. But yeah, Dudley Datson, Forever Machine. I have no idea what any of this means, but I love the idea that somehow the greatest figures in history are all linked because they have dogs, and maybe those dogs are all are
Oh, look
all
at this.
are all in the same sort of universe.
I missed this
Yeah,
in going through everything. I love Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder made me like DC,
yeah,
with
awesome,
between
awesome.
his when I first read his Black Mirror stuff from Batman, which made me then want to
I
read his new
still love that.
52,
So
yeah,
good.
his new 52 stuff on Batman. And from there I've read quite a bit of Scott's work, but the last couple of years I've kind of ignored his some of his work or just said, "Oh, I'll wait for it to be on trade." But
Yeah,
I keep some stuff is hit or miss. I'm hearing, especially he does a lot of horror now, which horror
yeah,
is not my really in general my cup of tea. But this looks like this looks like a lot of fun.
yeah.
This is just it looks like it's going to be a fun little series.
It looks a bit lighthearted, and I have a lot of other deeper, darker stuff on here. And yeah, I just
Hmm.
kind of want to see what he does with this material. It comes into shops on March 13th, and the artist is Jamal. I want to say it says Igle,
That's
Igle,
yeah, that
Igle.
looks right.
Okay, yeah. Um, and yeah, they're both New York Times best-selling creators. So get them together with something like this, where again, they have full reign with the concept. They have full reign with the entire story. Really want to see what it ends up being. But yeah, that was my complete
No,
shot in the dark uh pick this month.
well, I mean, this was a Comixology series, so for them to then put it on digital and then want to release it in print, it must be pretty damn good. I mean, it's Scott Snyder. I
Yeah.
will Scott, even when he's not on the greatest, he's still producing. I guarantee you good work. I'm hearing great stuff about the Canary book that's come out. I believe he did Barnstormers, and those aren't horror books. Those look like just mostly action driven books that I
Mhm.
keep telling myself I'll get the trades on. So this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I trust Scott overall. So yeah, let me know. Keep me posted on this one.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Now, now for me, my last pick is a title that is coming to an end. But it is the end of a story. It's not being just canceled. It is
Mhm.
called New Burn. It is issue number 16 coming out later this month. And it has been over the last about year or 2 years, has been one of my favorite books. If you like shows like Law and Order, if you like a good detective story, if you like secrets and espionage and that noir flavor, you want to read New Burn. This is issue 16, so it's not much to get into, but there's so much depth in these stories. The premise behind this book is you have this former NYPD cop detective
Mhm.
named Newburn who quits being a cop in order to become the go-between for all of the criminal activity in New York City.
Oh wow.
So what happens is we still I'm a couple issues behind, but so we still haven't exactly found out why he chose this unless apologize unless that has been revealed in the last. I'm like 2 issues behind unless that has finally been revealed already. I'm not sure, but decides to stop being a cop and instead he becomes the whenever the like say the Japanese mafia is having or the Yakuza, so to speak, is having issues with the Italian mob and they don't want to just immediately go to war, they go to New Bern and say, yo, New Bern, find out why we're having issues between each other and help us iron this out so that we don't all just eradicate each other. And
Okay.
that's his whole entire job.
He's like an organized crime mediator of sorts.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what he is. And so he no the cops hate him. The mafia people they tolerate his existence because they know we need this person.
I was to say, yeah, means to an
Without
end.
him
Yeah.
without him existing to help us solve these things out, we would just be slaughtering each other or getting each other arrested. So, but the cops hate him. The mafia just tolerates his existence. And the series starts with him getting an assistant, and the assistant has her own crazy past. So all these things are happening. He's getting into more and more complicated issues between all the mafias,
I could
and the
imagine people
NYPD.
backstabbing each other. There's people
Oh,
working against
it's
each other.
nasty.
I could imagine,
It's
yeah.
it's
Seedy. It's the
so
seedy underbelly of the criminal underworld. Yeah.
yes, yes, and also the dirty aspects of being a police officer. So there's so many layers to this book. Like every issue is a kind of a brisk read, but they almost every issue demands a reread. I've like the first 7 issues I must have reread like 3 times because there's so many little details and you're introduced to so many characters so quickly, and some characters you're like, this is going to be an important character, and then Chip like freaking Game of Thrones that character. You're like, oh, what happened here? And then like though it's so good. It's so good. And with it ending now at issue 16, it's not a lot of story to get into. The first 2 trades are available, or you can completely just compendium weight it for it to all be collected. But I just wanted to put this out there that this series is ending. It's a great time to, like I said, wait for that trade or try to get all the back issues. I'm pretty sure you can find them even on a discount right now, because this is a great just cop drama series. No capes, no superheroes, no. This is all like I'm telling you, if you like Law and Order and you like all those cop shows, you want to check out New Bern.
It feels like Zdarsky is on a bit of a run on his own, right? What the things that he's doing right now. He's another
Yes.
very prolific writer. It's funny. I kind of wanted to pigeonhole him as just like this kind of comedy, kind of poppy thing, and that's not what he is at all. That's how I found him with Sex Criminals. You know,
Right.
that book is very fun and it does deal with serious stuff, but you get kind of the game that you're playing in that series, and watching him take on so much and it all be quality has been really refreshing. I wish the best for him because I think he's a tremendous writer. So if he's finishing this up, you got to believe that he's packing a punch at that end because he's been waiting for it. My final pick, honestly, is the most excited I've been for a pick in quite some time. I've made it a
Ooh.
point to not bring up that we had a short discussion prior, where we kind of discussed some of our picks to make sure we didn't have the same, and I did not bring this up on purpose, because it is a new horror book, and it's from the creators of a book that you recommended to me, that kind of changed the way I view certain comics. Do you remember a little book that we covered on this very podcast called Stray Dogs?
I know what you're picking.
I'm picking
Yes.
Feral
Yes.
#1. So I had five comics on my list. And for some reason, because my phone's always listening, I got an ad for Feral #1, and I was like, I know that art. I know that team. And then I looked at it, I was like,
Hmm.
nah, nope, on the list. Get this is going on the list. Um, First I want to say that it's a writer, Tony, I want to say that's Fleeks, with artist Tone Rodriguez and Trisha Fornster Fornsner. Sorry. Um, those were the creative teams behind Stray Dogs. And Stray Dogs, without giving too much of the plot away, is like it's like a horror movie featuring the animals from like All Dogs Go to Heaven or Lady and the Tramp. So it's like these cute Disney caricatures of these animals, Balto, all those kind of cartoon
Hmm.
dogs, and it turns into a horror story. So just by reading the synopsis here, I already know where they're going with this, and it excites me so much. So the synopsis is: meet Elsie, Lord Fluffy Britches, and Patch. Three indoor cats lost in the not so great outdoors during a nightmarish rabies outbreak. Without their humans to protect them, the cats rush to find their way home before they're eaten by the forest full of rabid beasts on their tails. Don't get bit, don't get scratched, don't become feral. They're doing they're doing a zombie.
Me?
They're doing a zombie
Yes.
book with cartoon dogs and cats. This is hilarious. Don't get scratched. There's gonna be like a Patch. You got a scratch on your shoulder.
No. No. Meow. No. No.
We gotta let you
My
go. We gotta
No,
let you go.
my owner did this,
It
or
was
you
me.
know,
I scratch myself when I
I
sleep. I
scratched
get
myself too
nervous.
hard. You know, mosquito bit me.
Oh, bro,
Oh,
what a funny, fun premise. I trust them because um Stray Dogs was one of those books that, and I love this moment in comics as well. When you read a book and you literally have to lift your head from the book and look around, like, is anyone else seeing this? Is
right.
anyone else seeing? Obviously, they
Yes,
never
I
are.
that
But
Stray Dogs was definitely that.
but I'm looking up, I'm like, yeah, what? Yeah, this just went left, and now even knowing the premise for this, I'm just, yeah, super excited because they make it quite apparent which direction they're gonna go in with this. And also, the original Stray Dogs had some amazing variant covers. It had some amazing variant covers that parodied horror posters of just with the stray dogs in them. So I could see a whole new slew of them coming out with this. But yeah, like just like feral, it's like it's just rabies. I mean, rabies is terrible, but I mean, like, I was like, just
Yeah,
rabies.
right.
But
No,
yeah, I can't wait.
this definitely looks intriguing. Yeah, I did notice this. I'm not the horror guy in general,
Yeah.
but something like I have been enjoying that there are a lot of these books like this coming out. I don't know if you
Mhm.
heard of the book Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. Have you heard about that one?
Uh-uh.
It's a story. It's basically Dexter,
Okay.
where it's just imagine a Muppet kind of world
Oh
where
God.
everything looks all Muppety,
Yeah.
but there's this one character in the town that like, murders people and like does it like Dexter style, where it's just like it just serves a purpose. But it's this Sesame Street looking world, and then what happens is somebody else kills someone in the town, and they themselves are doing it in like his style. So he's like, oh, there's another
There's a
one of me,
copycat.
or there's a
Yeah.
copycat or something like that. So
Yeah.
I got to find out who the heck this person is before they make it so that it looks like that people are going to find out about me. But it has that same thing, that cartoonish, that Disney afternoon kind of look to it. And now they're doing it again with this book. I like that. I like the idea of, because it's kind of makes you think of the real world. That
Yeah.
is, think about that. Think about how we constantly go about our lives looking at it for the most part. I mean, I know we have those some people who look at everything that the melancholy lens, but we kind of have that, oh, life goes on and whatever. You almost you just have these what do they call, rose colored glasses, but
Yeah.
you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And so a book like this, or Stray Dogs, or other books who are doing the similar style, where it's like, oh no, there's this nasty undercurrent to this world, and here we have the zombie apocalypse happening with a bunch of stray cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be fun, and that same creative team who have knocked it out of the park in the previous book. So definitely, I'll be picking this up. I'll probably trade with it, but I'll get it.
It's one of those things where the and I love when this happens, where the art is 1,000% intentional, and it helps the book. It helps to differentiate the book from anything else. Like, they know what they're doing by having those animals look expressive and adorable, and like the cartoons that you've seen from before. Like the
Yeah.
artist behind this has done My Little Pony and stuff before, so they know how to make like these
Yes.
adorable,
Yes. Hmm.
absolutely adorable animals. And again, they're gonna be bitten and foaming at the mouth and
Right.
attacking each other, and it's gonna be cutthroat. It's gonna be, every cat for himself, and I can't wait to
I'm
see
just
how it
wondering,
all goes
like,
down.
how are they going to kill each other? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah. Or like just,
that's gonna
and then
be.
he's gonna leave him for dead, tie him to a post.
I mean, but if they're running around, I mean,
Yeah.
this is going to be interesting. And I love the fact. Look, you're right. Just like they did with Stray Dogs, where a lot of the variant covers were homages to classic horror posters.
Yeah.
They're doing it again with this series. And the first issue has what looks like a Dawn of the Dead, or one of the George Romero looking variant covers, and that looks
That's
awesome. That
perfect.
looks awesome. Nice.
Abs-
Nice.
Absolutely
Great,
perfect.
great pick. Because this is definitely going to be one of those books that people are going to talk about. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we with this episode coming out, we have officially covered the first quarter of this year. as far as solicitations are concerned, and it's been nothing but exciting in a world where it's still weary when as far as comic book sales are concerned, as far as comic book
Yeah.
stores and stuff are concerned. We are getting genuine product out there, but it's up to us to kind of put the industry on our shoulders. If this is the stuff that we care about, we can't only care about it when it's on the big screen. We can't only care about it when it's on the little
No.
screen and able to be streamed. Before that happens, artists and writers are painstakingly going over every single detail to make these stories be as good as they are. And some of them are able to do that for, like we were just talking about, 50 issues, you know?
Yeah.
They pour all they have into this art form, and it's why I think we love it. It's because you can feel it when it's done right, that
Right.
everything that the artist or the writer had in them, wanted to say, dreamt about, lives in those pages. And when it's that vibrant, it stays. That legacy passes way past you. It's a book that you can give, and everyone's gonna have the same feeling when they first read it, because that energy's trapped inside those stories. And I can't wait to see the different flavors of every, because all we did today was talk about ice cream. It's just all different flavors. You know what I'm saying? So I can't wait to taste these different flavors that we
Yeah.
recommended, and I can't wait for you guys. If you guys go ahead and check out these recommendations, go ahead and hit us up in the comments if you've checked out any of our other recommendations. Let us know what you're thinking about them. Like I said, it's been quite fun picking these picks every month, and kind of seeing where the industry is going, where it's trying to go, where certain writers are going, as they are being given more and more trust or more freedom, and seeing some publishers just try to throw things at the wall and see what sticks. Because when I was going over the Marvel picks, there was about 6 Spider-Man books, I think, kind of currently coming out.
Yep. Quite a bit. Quite a
Because
bit.
you picked
Yeah. Between.
Spider-Man, but Jackpot's got a book coming out. Spider-Boy's kind of issue, still thing going out. They just gave Zeb Wells his own miniseries or something, having to do with Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
he's
There's.
gonna,
Yeah.
yeah,
Marvel with Spider-Man, Bat, and DC with their Bat books.
yep,
There's tons. But don't forget the indie books, guys.
yeah,
The indie stuff is great. I no insult, not to be sound insulting to the big two. I will always love the big two, but I feel like the genuine new ideas come from the indie stuff.
yeah,
Because look, a feral cat zombie apocalypse.
yeah,
Come on, you're not going to see that in a Marvel book. You're not going to see that in a DC book. You're going to see that in the indie stuff. So give that stuff love. And just like George was saying, with supporting these books, also support the comic book stores. Get out
yeah,
there. Don't if I understand digital is convenient, it's easy, but if you know it's something you're going to like, and you know you're going to want to put on your shelf maybe one day, go to your local comic stores. Keep these places in business, because that's not only where you're going to find this stuff, and you're going to find the people who are truly passionate behind them, but you're gonna meet the people who are also supporting it, and you're gonna find out even more stuff, more than just my 5 picks and George's 5 picks. You're gonna see how much is out there, and
yeah,
how much great stuff is out there. That I find it way more exciting than just going through whatever streaming service, and going through tile for tile, going through any comic book stores, trade paperbacks, and back issue bins. Oof, always a good time.
And I'll also say, as somebody who's always loved reading in general, there's, to me, handing somebody a good book is a love language. It's different than recommending a movie or
For
pointing
sure.
at a series. If you're able to say that I love this book and I am handing you this physical book,
Yes.
for you to now get into and enjoy, that's always a relationship I love between comic readers, and that's how it's really spread. I mean, yeah, you can, like I said, digital is convenient and stuff like that, but I still constantly get that hankering of, like, I want to sit outside with a book. I want
Mhm.
to sit outside and read a book. It's fun to, flick on the screen and all that, but yeah, getting that real physical stuff, it really helps. I really think it just makes your fandom, just accentuates your fandom, in my
That's
opinion.
right.
Because not only that, you
That's
can
right.
actually spread it, and that's what we're all here to do. That's what we're here to do as part of Major Previews. But yeah, we're gonna wind it down on this episode 3. Again, some fun picks. We'll talk. because I do want to find a way to come back around on some of the picks that we've had and kind of talk to the
Oh,
people about.
we've
Yeah.
not to pat ourselves in the back, but I want to say probably more than half of our picks have become stellar, known, very well known.
Yeah,
Between
second printing
our
kind of stuff. So yeah.
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 So I think we're doing something right.
Yeah, we definitely are. And we do it for you guys each and every week. Again, we're spreading the love of comics and we're trying to do it the best way we can. Happiness is about having something in the future to look forward to. And that's all these books are. And that's what we try to give you guys, a little bit of that happiness. So make sure that you guys come back around. And remember that we do all this under Comic Book Click. You can find more stuff about what we do at comicbookclick.com. You can hit up our Patreon, patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse. And for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month, you can help us continue to do series like this because, it takes a lot of hardware, it takes a lot of software, it takes a lot of time. And so anything that you guys can kick us back, whether it's word of mouth support, whether you're liking and sharing and subscribing, or whether you're giving us your recommendations in the comments or your comments about our comments, all that stuff helps us, keeps us engaged. We're all over social media, facebook.com/comicbookclick, Instagram at comicbookclick, or you can use the hashtag comicbookclick to talk about all the things that we talk about. But that's going to be it for Major Previews episode 3. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don.
And I'm Alex Garcia, aka B Roke. But please, guys, pick up some of these books.
Go ahead and grab some of those books, and always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy.